My name is Kara Hogan, and my presentation is on the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. The NAACP stood out to me because it's the oldest and largest civil rights organization in America. The NAACP fights racial injustices and strives to promote equality throughout the U.S. I selected this organization because they've made several significant contributions towards the civil rights movement, which redefined history, and they continue to improve society today. They're so important because they've made such an impact on society for equality and justice for people of color. This organization is interesting because they've been around since 1909, so they've been a part of most of the advancements made in society for racial justice. What is systemic racism and how is it relevant to the NAACP? Systemic racism is a racism that's ingrained into society to impose discrimination within the laws, regulations, employment opportunities, housing opportunities, healthcare, education, politics, and other areas of assumed power. My project illustrates the importance of the NAACP because they fight systemic racism by informing society of these unjust policies and confront them one by one in order to build political, social, and economic power for people of color. What is the NAACP's mission? Their mission statement is to achieve equity, political rights, and social inclusion by advancing policies and practices that expand human and civil rights, eliminate discrimination, and accelerate the well-being, education, and economic security of Black people and all people of color. The NAACP's mission statement proves that they're dedicated to dismantling systemic racism by working to update these policies to reflect civil rights for all people of color. Their goal is for everyone to feel welcomed and accepted by society and to end discrimination. Their ultimate goal is racial equity. They not only work to update these laws, but also they make sure that these laws are being followed. The NAACP's goals. They're dedicated to dismantling systemic racism. They lead the country in updating unfair policies and create movements and programs to empower the Black community. The NAACP is widely recognized for the impact that they left on the civil rights movement, but they still remain involved in fighting for justice today. In 2022, they're focused on the issues within mass incarceration, racial injustices within healthcare, unequal housing opportunities, and more. The NAACP's impacts. One impact made during the civil rights movement is the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education case. A more recent impact would be leading the fight for community health for all in 2022. One of the most notable impacts that they left would be leading the desegregation of schools in the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court case. And the NAACP led the courts to outlaw segregation, and this was a major turning point for the US. The NAACP addresses discrimination and unjust policies, and like I mentioned, one of the most recent public health crises that they address would be the public health crisis of 2022. So this is an excerpt from one of our modules on the Brown versus Board of Education case, which was a turning point for the US by overruling the separate but equal principle that set forth in 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson. It was the first step to addressing unfair and discriminatory policies and moving forward into a more unified society. Discussion of relevant research. So while I was researching the NAACP, I found that nearly every article and publication regarding the advancement of racial equity and civil rights included the NAACP in their argument. I chose to include this quote in particular because it illustrates the involvement of the NAACP towards racial justice. The article demonstrated the importance of the NAACP for achieving a more unified society, and it showed their involvement in every area of inequality. So in conclusion, the NAACP is one of the strongest anti-racist organizations in the world, and they fight for all minority groups to achieve equality and eliminate all forms of discrimination. The NAACP has been involved in almost every advancement made towards racial equity. This presentation proved that communities are capable of change if each person comes together and confronts all areas that need improvement. This organization shows the importance of using your voice in order to create change. And here's my works cited. Thank you.